My name is Carel van Wyk. I'm the founder and CEO of MoneyBadger. MoneyBadger is a Bitcoin company with the mission to make Bitcoin money. We do this by providing technology to merchants for accepting Bitcoin as a means of payment. Last time I was on the stage, I asked you a question. Are you here to become rich, or are you here to become free? For freedom is not obtained for free. Freedom comes at a price. Bitcoin is money that is free. Those who adopt it have a form of money that is neutral, global, radically inclusive, censorship resistant, fair, and provably scarce. Maybe you wonder what I mean by being free. It means not being held captive. What keeps us captive? It is poverty. Poverty is a prison. Poverty is caused by not having something valuable to hold on to, as Luno spoke about. Not even the hardest worker can escape poverty without a way to prepare for the day they can no longer work as hard. As the value of our money continues its steady decline, we look away from it to ever riskier foreign financial instruments and investments. Not to compound our wealth, but merely to try and avoid the fruits of our labor eroding over time. In the extreme case, we may even turn to gambling and shitcoins. But Bitcoin is not a foreign asset. It is something valuable you can self-custody. What does that mean? Self-custody means you can hold it in your own two hands as opposed to trusting somebody else to keep it safe for you. It is not created by a foreign nation. Gridless is speaking after me, and they mine it using the energy from the sun that falls on our lands and the force of our rivers that run through them. Bitcoin is something we can hold close to us. Bitcoin is person-to-person electronic cash. How could it be foreign? Yet in the regulatory panel earlier today, we heard the rules and regulations are only becoming tighter over time. The regulators do not see Bitcoin as money. They classify Bitcoin as an asset, and soon they may decide that it is a foreign asset. We may become limited in our ability to self-custody our own Bitcoin. As an analogy, if you think of Bitcoin not as electronic cash, but as physical cash, then you would only be allowed to withdraw a limited amount of Bitcoin from an ATM in a year. Every year, that limit will decrease. As Carl de Villiers said, businesses and non-profits like Bitcoin Ekazi would not be allowed to withdraw anything from that ATM at all, would not be allowed to self-custody. There is mounting pressure to capture us in a walled garden, to try and keep our Bitcoin on centralized exchanges. Anita Posch said earlier, that renders us powerless. The freedoms we enjoy today can be stripped away from us at any moment. And by the way, our rules and regulations do not use the word self-custody. Do you know what they call it? Unhosted wallets. But self-custody wallets are hosted. They are hosted by their owners, by you. Please listen. Our human right to hold our own Bitcoin is at risk. So what can you do? What can you do to help defend our freedom? The answer becomes obvious when you realize that you can never be free unless your neighbor is free as well. And how wonderful is it that Messiah, who planned the decor for our stage, put us right in our neighbor's living room. Freedom is something that must be shared until everyone has it. We must work together to strengthen the roots of Bitcoin so that we are many voices when the time comes to resist. Here are some practical ways you can strengthen our roots. The most important way is through strengthening your local Bitcoin community. Attend your local Bitcoin meetups. If there isn't one, start it. Donate to local circular economy projects. While you're sitting here, if you have a Lightning wallet, Scan that QR code, send a few sats to the Bitcoin Ikazi project, even 10 sats. Bitcoin Ikazi is the Bitcoin beach of South Africa. It should come as no surprise to you that using Bitcoin is the easiest way to give and receive charity. You can also donate your time. Educate people close to you, your neighbors, your friends, and your family. Help them understand the importance of safekeeping, of self-custody, and the dangers of crypto. You can start a Bitcoin project. There's one guy that paints rocks. He paints Bitcoin on rocks. That's his project. Tomorrow we'll have a Pecha Kucha workshop. There's 5 minutes for each speaker to just share something about their project. And finally, visit grassroots Bitcoin circular economies like Bitcoin Ikazi, like Bitcoin Witsand, and spend some Bitcoin at their shops. Support the shops that support you. Pick n Pay supports you. They put their money where their mouths are, saying they want to offer their customers greater choice in how they pay, and they became the first major corporate in Africa to accept Bitcoin for groceries, value-added services, clothing, and other basic necessities. Devin Moodley was here. He's the executive head of financial services of Pick n Pay. He took time out of his extremely busy schedule to prepare a talk and speak to you at this conference. Open source wallets support Pick n Pay. We now have at least 4, maybe 5 projects that we know of that has directly implemented Pick n Pay QR codes in their wallet. So you can scan a Pick n Pay code with Blink Wallet, with Blitz, with Breeze, any wallet that implements Breeze, and soon Aqua Wallet will be released as well. You'll be able to scan Pick n Pay codes. MoneyBadger supports Pick n Pay. We process their Bitcoin payments for them, and if you like our logo, which I love, by the way, you can get one of these T-shirts. So we don't sell them, but what we do require is that you do a little bit of work. So if you head over to Pick n Pay at the V&A, and you go spend your Bitcoin there using Lightning, and you bring me a slip, or if you bring Ben a slip, then you can get a free T-shirt. But you can never buy them. Now this is important. You can convince a merchant to accept Bitcoin because of whatever reason, its simplicity, unique savings properties, but they will soon forget about it unless it is spent at their stores. We have seen this happen countless times already. The chicken and egg problem of orange pilling merchants become clear when you realize the most important thing to establishing a Bitcoin circular economy is the number of people who are spending Bitcoin. Our country understands not only the value, but also the price of freedom. The fight for freedom is embedded in our DNA. It weighs heavy in our history books. You can hear it when we sing our national anthem. We are fortunate today that we receive time and words of several prominent South African nation builders, like Zwanele Manyi and Helen Zille. Freedom fighters in their own right. I thank them for coming to speak to us. In the past year, we've seen a noticeable increase of political discourse centered around Bitcoin, both locally in South Africa and on the world stage. El Salvador adopted Bitcoin as a national form of money. This gives us hope that when the time comes, we may have powerful allies to help push back on this idea of Bitcoin being a foreign concept. In the same breath, I want to remind you that Bitcoin is apolitical. We could even say it is anti-political. Bitcoiners are not limited to either the political left or right. At this conference, we have representatives from opposing parties, from both the Democratic Alliance and Mkhonto weSizwe. And by the way, a small bit of trivia. Mkhonto weSizwe was founded as a paramilitary arm of the ANC, as a way to resist the apartheid government. Does anybody know when Mkhonto weSizwe was founded? What year? 1961. We heard this date this year earlier today as well. What else happened in 1961? Exchange controls. South Africa became a republic. The South African rand was born, and we also got exchange controls. So why are we here today? We are here because Bitcoin is free money. If you are here to become rich, consider that all the money in the world is worthless if you are prevented from spending it. You can only truly be rich if you are also free. Last year, I traveled to El Salvador on a small pilgrimage. I visited their Bitcoin communities in Berlin and El Sante, Bitcoin Beach. What I saw there filled me with hope. Hope that fairness and freedom would ultimately prevail, despite any resistance we may face. Their president freed them from violence by imprisoning the gangs, and freed them from fiat by giving them Bitcoin. I saw high walls and reinforced doors everywhere, a legacy from their violent past. I also saw those doors being opened and people starting to live outward again, connecting with each other again, connecting with their neighbors, working together again to build up something valuable without fear that it would be taken away by violence or depreciated by fiat. I saw freedom, and I felt it. Max Kaiser said, El Salvador has been liberated from fiat money, from gangs, and from tyranny, and the people are dancing in the street. Masai spoke about the dancing people, our dancing neighbors. And at the Bitcoin Festival in El Sante, that's what I saw. In the pouring rain, the people of El Salvador were dancing in the street.